Hey everybody, welcome back. We're here it's been a long time, but we have some reader questions we're going to do. And so this first reader question, I'll read it to you, and then we'll get into the answers and that sort of thing. So the question is, and I'm just looking on my screen here, how do you reconcile what is in your head with what ends up on the page and are able to move on from the work as it stands? So I'm interpreting this question as in, like, you have the idea in your head of what the scene's going to be, what you want to convey, how you kind of want to go. This is before it's been written. This is purely just the imagination going. And then when it comes out, so what comes out doesn't mirror what was exactly in your head. And the answer is, my experience anyway, after, 40 plus books, is sometimes what I envision, yes, exactly, it comes out on the page perfectly. I'm not perfect, so not perfectly, but it comes out close enough, like 99% kind of idea. And then, so that part I have no problem reconciling because what was there wound up on the page. So that's easy. However, there are these moments or there's these scenes where you're trying to either make a plot point turn or introduce a new plot point, or you need to have someone say something specific because it's key to the story, or they have to do some sort of action in order to move the story along. And you have a way on how this plays out in your head, but then when you go to write it, sometimes it doesn't come out the same. What I found for myself is that when that type of thing occurs, I recognize that what I had in my head and all these ideas of what I wanted to convey were more like a jumble of thoughts, kind of like a mixed up salad, right? And what came out on the page was it was a bit more itemized. It was, here's your lettuce, here's your feta, here's your dressing, here's, I'm hoping I'm making sense. What I'm trying to say is that sometimes it doesn't work out the way you see it in your head. Sometimes what's really in your head, what you think is a coherent scene, is actually a jumble. And when you're writing it out, you realize what you were thinking actually was a jumble. And it's your job then as the writer to itemize. I'm not saying write it in point form or in list by list, but just more so, just organize it more so that the jumble becomes something coherent on the page, so that the reader gets what that jumble, the reader then understands you. So you're kind of almost translating your jumble for the reader so that they can get what you're trying to get at. So that's how I reconcile it. Is I realize that sometimes it works out perfectly and I'm happy with it, and that's great, and it's a good mood and it's a good writing session. And then there's times where I realize that the jumble, it doesn't work on the page. It works in my imagination because, as we all know, our imaginations can go in every single direction, and it all makes sense because it's all in our head, and our head puts it all together into kind of its own piece. But practically speaking, sometimes it doesn't work out that way. And so my attitude at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, and I've written out my jumble, then I basically just say, you know what, that was the scene. That's how I envisioned it. Yes, it was a jumble, but I was able to take that jumble and display it for the readers in a method and way that they could understand my jumble. So that's how I reconcile it. I say, you know what, I did put that jumble on the page. I did do it. It didn't come out as the jumble, but the thoughts, the ideas, the themes, the dialogue, the whatevers that I thought of are there on the page. And then I'm like, well, that's the goal, isn't it? Like, is not the goal of writing to take what's in your head and put on the page, like at its bare minimum? That's the baseline of writing, right? Head to page. So once that's done, once that jumble is processed and put out on the page, I'm okay with it. And I'm like, I was being honest, because I've always maintained writing's about honesty. It's about being who you are and what you are, and that will come through your stories, period. Like no matter what, like your head space, your heart space, that's all going to come through on the page. So that's the honesty part of writing, and I've always stuck to that. I don't lie in my work. Like, yes, it's fiction, but so which is technically lies, but in reality, it's me on the page talking to you through the veil of fiction. And so that's how I reconcile it. Yeah, like I said, some days you don't need to reconcile because it comes out perfectly, and then other days where it doesn't come out perfectly. If what I was trying to say is on the page and it makes sense and it's, you know, it's written well, then I'm good. It's done. And then we move on to the next scene, and hopefully the next scene is one of those easy ones where, yeah, what's in your head just on the page and done. But it could be another one of those jumble organizers again. So I'm at peace with it. I'm okay with it, and that's how I reconcile it. I just view it as honesty. I say this is what was in my head at the moment. I laid it out for you the best I can. This effort was easy. This effort was hard. But either way, that's how it comes out. And so that's the long-winded answer to that question, is how I reconcile what's on the page, and then moving on from it from that point on. And then lastly, just to quickly finish, it simply is when it comes time to finishing the book, like when the book is done, and you wrote your last sentence, you put the final period in, then again, it's the same approach for me. It's again, it's honesty. Was I honest with the work when I wrote it? Yes? Okay. Good. Done. If people like it, that's wonderful. If people have mixed feelings about it, that's okay too, because then they're being honest in their feedback towards the work or their reaction towards the work. And if they hate it, I mean, yeah, it sucks, but at the same time, it's the same idea. I was being honest with you, and you're being honest with me, and you don't like it. Okay, well, fair enough. You can't please everybody. So that's my long-winded answer to that question. Anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. Please like, subscribe to the channel. There's lots of writing stuff coming, and don't forget about all the other stuff on the channel too. Like, there's the fandom stuff, yes, but there's also the podcasts and stories and everything else. So yeah, welcome. Just keep coming back for more. And yeah, there'll be more reader questions, and yeah. Anyway, hope you had a good time. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next video.